Most young adult Canadians feel like they are priced out of the housing market because homes are too expensive. But if you buy that narrative, you are already a lost cause. And this video is not for you. Yes, home ownership is expensive. But the real reason so many first-time buyers feel priced out of the market is because they have never built the financial habits, or they have never taken advantage of the financial tools that are available in order to actually save for their first place. If you are between 18 and 25, this is the most important time of your life to get your money right. Because how you handle your paycheck, save, and invest during this early part of your adult life will determine whether you own a property of your own or rent for most of your adult life. And here is the hard truth. People who get ahead in life are not the ones that have the highest incomes. They are the ones that start small, build habits early, and take advantage of certain financial tools that most young Canadians don't even know exist. So you can buy that story that you're never going to own a home and give up before you even begin, or you can become like many of my clients who are able to purchase their first home by the age of 25 without having to get some crazy $250,000 a year job or getting help from their parents. It's not because they're lucky. It's because they have made smart, consistent, small actions. And that's what I'm going to share with you here today. 15 different points, tools, and strategies that if you follow them, can have you owning a home in just a few years. So subscribe to the channel if you value home ownership, and click the like button if you are excited to start your journey of learning exactly how to save for your first home. Now, let me set this up. I've pictured exactly who I'm speaking to when I wrote this video. I know that there are lots of people that will write in the comments saying that they're already past 25 years old, that they didn't have parental support, or that they are already paying absurd rents and trying to raise 3 kids. Well, sorry, this video is not for those people. This message is meant to get to young adult Canadians early. So who am I speaking to here in this video? Well, someone that's between 18 and 25 years old. They are either out of high school or maybe in post-secondary or out of post-secondary. They are looking for or already have obtained some type of full-time work, but it's not their forever job. They might switch employers in the future, or they may even switch careers altogether. And most likely, they are still living at home with their parents. Listen, I don't necessarily like it. I don't necessarily agree with it. But I know most people don't move out anymore until they're at least 25 to 28 years old. It is what it is. And if you're watching this and you have an adult child at home, or maybe you know someone who fits this description, please share this video with them so we can dispel this myth that housing is unobtainable for the next generation. Okay, with that out of the way, here is the first tool I want you to understand that you can use, and yes, it is at your disposal. It's a bank account called the FHSA, or the First Home Savings Account. Using an FHSA, you can contribute up to $8,000 per year to a lifetime maximum of $40,000. This tool is where you should start saving money because it is a double benefit. First, it's tax deductible, meaning whatever money you put into it, you don't pay tax on that year. And when you withdraw the money to buy your eventual first home, it's also tax-free. Now, you have to be 18 years old to start this account, a Canadian resident, and a first-time buyer. So it's a no-brainer. You should open a first home savings account as soon as you possibly can and top it up with your savings before you move on to the second tool, a TFSA. Now, a tax-free savings account is, of course, tax-free, but this is only a single benefit. So that's why I say the first home savings account is more important. The current limit for your TFSA each year is $7,000. And if you qualify for lifetime room, which you don't since 2009, well, it now tops over $103,000. But all of that money grows in that account absolutely tax-free. So it's way better to save in a high interest savings account within a TFSA than it would be to just have it in your bank where the interest would be taxed. If you have even more money saved, there is a third account you should open, and that is an RRSP, or otherwise known as a retirement savings plan. The money you put in here is also tax deductible. That's the benefit. But it is meant for your retirement and not saving for your first home. So if you do pull the money out early, you will have a nasty tax bill. But if you want to use that money, you can pull out up to $35,000 from your RRSP to help with your first down payment, making your mortgage payments lower. However, you have to pay that money back within 15 years, or you will be taxed on it. I also think that this account should actually be used for your retirement. So I'm not a big fan of borrowing from your future to buy your home, but it is a tool that you should be aware of. Even if you're not going to use it for your home purchase, you should have an RRSP and you should be adding to it at least $100 per month, starting at the day you turn 18. So those are 3 tools that you should set up and start saving into. But what good are they if you don't actually start saving money to put into them? Well, number 4 is a strategy called pay yourself first. With these accounts, you can set up automated transfers with your bank that will transfer parts of your paycheck on payday directly into these registered accounts from your checking account. This is great because you won't have to think about this at all. All of those funds will be gone from your bank account as soon as your paycheck hits, and then you can worry about spending the rest of it on the rest of daily life, like maybe going to the pub on payday. Start with at least 10% of your paycheck. And really, you're young and your expenses are low. So try and get that up to 20% and try to increase that over time. When this is done automatically, you will not even miss the money. Another way to pay yourself first is what I call the fake rent strategy. This is for those of you who are living at home and for some crazy reason your parents are not charging you rent. If you don't have rent because your parents are either too nice or too soft to charge it to you, charge it to yourself. On the first of the month, transfer what would be market rent for the space that you're using within your home to a different savings account like one of the 3 that I have mentioned earlier. Ideally starting with the first home savings account. If you don't know maybe what market rent would be for what you're renting or what you're living in with your parents, don't worry about that at all. Try using the same metric that the bank would use to pre-approve you for a mortgage. The details of that is likely for another video, but that number is 39% of your gross income. So for quick math, if you're only making minimum wage because you're new to work and you haven't yet increased your skills, that in BC is about $17 an hour, or let's call it $35,000 per year. And the rent that you would owe yourself then each month would be $1,150. And note, this is on top of that extra 10% that you were already automatically saving before. But this fake rent strategy also has another benefit. It gets you used to paying on the first of the month, prepping you for the discipline needed for when you finally secure a mortgage and have to make your payments. And now that you're a good little saver, it's time to level up your savings with this next one. Save half of every raise you get. Again, let's say you're 18 and you're making minimum wage. And if you stay at that job, you'll probably get a raise in not too long of a time to maybe $18 an hour at some point. Immediately take 50% or 50 cents of that raise and get it tacked on top of your savings. You can spend the other 50% minus whatever goes to tax, but the first 50% goes to you and your future. This means as you increase your skills and your pay at a young age, you will not only be able to enjoy some of that by increasing your spending, but you will also be saving more as you go. Simply getting a $1 an hour raise should be able to add $80 per month to your savings account. Next, try to cut or completely eliminate your car payment altogether. If you have made the mistake of buying a car with a car payment at a young age, this is your chance to fix it. You are young. You are supposed to drive a pile of crap. You can't afford to spend something like $500 per month or more on having a car payment. If you do have a car payment and you're finding it unmanageable, swallow your pride and trade that sucker in. Trade down. I see lots, and I mean Most young people trying to buy a house and they're not able to do so because they walked into some dealership somewhere and drove out with a $600 or $700 a month car payment plus insurance. Listen, I'm a car guy. I know that a car at a young age can be part of your freedom and it really makes you feel like you've made it. But trust me, a young person straddled with a large car payment is by far the worst financial decision that they could make at a young age. Outside of course, the next one on my list, avoid consumer debt like you had to avoid your schoolmates in April 2020. Credit cards are not free money. Paying interest on credit cards will stop all of your savings momentum. The average credit card in Canada is now charging 21% interest. It's important to build credit, I get that, but carrying a balance on your credit card will not only eat into your cash flow, but it will also affect your mortgage qualification as lenders look into your debt to income ratio. If you already have debt on credit cards or anywhere else, you're basically starting this process 3 steps behind. You should actually shut this video off right now and start searching YouTube for other videos called the snowball method. Next, with all of the savings that you're doing, start to build an emergency fund. Aim for 3 to 6 months of living expenses, including your fake rent. If you have an emergency account, it will help you avoid cashing out things like your first home savings account or your tax-free savings account if some major life event were to happen. Even a small setback can totally derail your savings, so it's best that you prepare for them. Think of your emergency fund money as money that protects your other money. Next up, it's time to do your best to increase your income. Now, this can be done 3 different ways. The internet will tell you to try and get some sort of a side hustle going, but you're not going to hear that from me. I think you should keep your main thing, and completely forget those side hustles, definitely at a young age. So rather than a side hustle, try one of these 2 other things. You could work more and take on a whole bunch of overtime hours if possible, or at the same time, work on increasing your skills in your field. Like I said, you're young, you have energy in your early 20s to work your ass off. Discover at a young age just how far you can push yourself and how much you want to work in the future. You won't have the energy to do that necessarily in your 30s or your 40s like I am when you have a family. And of course, when you work those extra hours, you will also increase your skills. Increased skills produce more value for your employer, and more value that you increase to your employer means that they will increase your pay. So now that you're saving money and making more money, invest safely during this period. These are the savings that will set you up for the rest of your life. These are not funds that you should gamble on in maybe things like Bitcoin or invest in Tesla. These savings that you have at a very young age should be either in just high interest savings accounts or maybe broad-based index funds. And you might even look into something like a GIC, but be careful. If you want to use these savings for a purchase, you got to make sure that your savings are not locked into some sort of guaranteed investment that will stop you from accessing them for your down payment when the time is right. Next, start thinking about the type of home that you're going to buy when the time is right, and keep your housing expectations realistic. You are saving for your first home, not your forever home. You will not afford a detached home like the one you're maybe living in now with your parents. And as your first property, buying a detached home, well, that dream has gone. It's honestly too expensive. You will want to find out what properties cost in your area and understand what you are looking for. Is it a newer property, an older place, a 1-bed, maybe a 2? Will it be near the train or do I need parking? But stay realistic. In most areas, in most major cities, you will enter the property market or the property ladder on the bottom rung. Understand what that is in your city and come to terms with the fact that this is your first place and it will not be perfect. In real estate, we usually have to start small and then move up. That's how the property ladder works. Avoid lifestyle inflation. As we get older, we start to make more money and we start to spend more. If you can avoid your daily costs inflating because now you can afford Starbucks instead of making your coffee at home, well, even the cheapest cups of coffee on your way to work each day can cost upwards of $750 per year in what we call lifestyle creep. You can avoid lifestyle creep with this next one: tracking every dollar and creating a budget. Planning what you need to spend in a budget can be eye-opening. And then tracking every dollar you actually spend at the end of the month, well, that's life-changing. I once sat down with a friend and did a budget with him and tracked all of his spending over the previous months. And he discovered that he could not show me where $380 per month was even going. It was just cash spending on, well, who knows what. But after cutting his expenses by creating a budget and then tracking his spending each month, he was able to buy his first place within 18 months of creating his very first budget. And the last thing I would have you do when you're starting to save for your first property is to understand your mortgage qualifications as early as possible. Talk to a mortgage broker at least 6 to 12 months before considering purchasing. But really, even if you're 18 and you've just started this process today, call a mortgage broker and get them to educate you on exactly what it is they do and what you need to do in order to qualify for a mortgage. That could be saving, increasing your income, paying off debt, or simply making sure your money is in the right account. They can also help you discover your credit score, minimum down payments, and the difference between insured and uninsured mortgages. Do all of these 15 things as early as you possibly can, and you will be ready to make your first purchase faster than you ever thought possible. I mean, seriously, even making minimum wage. If you live at home and you follow this plan from 18 to 25 years old at a modest 2% interest on your savings, you can save nearly $130,000 towards your first place, proving that home ownership is in reach after all. And then you can check out this video on exactly how to climb the property ladder, because once you buy your first place, you're not going to want to stop.